Hello, people, and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Deep Roy Chaudhary, and I'm just a random guy who talks about random stuff. And I'm sweating today because it is too hot. The temperature is too warm today. So, today I'm going to talk about a very different thing: uh, electric vehicles, electric cars. Electric cars are great, as you know from the title, and I believe that switching to electric cars, switching to renewable energy as a species would be a better thing for from the perspective of of decreasing carbon emissions. But of course there's a catch. I mean, even the research has shown, studies have shown that even in the construction of solar panels that are out there uh, a lot of carbon emission does happen even in the construction of solar panels. So a lot of people are saying, what is more what emits less carbon, a solar you know a solar an economy which depends on solar energy entirely, or an economy that depends on or that depends on fossil fuels entirely. What is overall more carbon neutral or carbon negative, for that matter? Basically, making sure that the decreasing carbon emissions overall. What actually decreases carbon emissions overall? So it so I again, look, I am not an expert. I am just a guy. I'm just a guy who's talking about this topic from a layman's perspective. But I do think that um switching to renewable energy, is a good thing eventually. And I mean, yes, a lot of carbon emissions might happen in the construction, during the construction of those solar panels, or during the construction of a hydroelectric dam, during the construction of a wind turbine. But eventually, those turbines, those solar panels, those these machines that will harness the power of the sun, harness the power of the wind, harness the power of the tides, tide turbines underwater that will harness tidal energy. You know, so yeah, in the construction of these things, in the construction of a dam for hydroelectric, for harnessing the hydroelectric energy, there would be some amount of carbon emissions might happen. But even after that, I think a lot of after that, over the years of operation of those solar panels, over the years of operation of that hydroelectric dam, over the years of operation of those wind turbines, the overall carbon emission becomes, there is no more carbon emission after the wind turbine is operational. There is no more carbon emission after the so the solar panels are operational. There is no more carbon emission after the hydroelectric, after the hydropower projects are operational. So yes, some amount of carbon emission might happen during the construction of these projects, but after the construction of these renewable, quote unquote, renewable power plants, yeah, after that it will be carbon neutral. And eventually, I think I have um, read a news article that was stating this same fact, that yes, during the initialization of these renewable power plants, there might be some carbon emission. But after the operationalization of these power plants, after these plants become operational, renewable power plants become operational, then of course there is no more, there is no more, there is a lot, there is no more carbon emissions. So I do think that, maybe constructing an electric car might involve some amount of carbon emissions. But if we can replace each and every vehicle with electric vehicles, yes, some amount of carbon emissions will happen in the construction of those electric vehicles. But once those vehicles are operational, there is no more carbon emissions happening, because these are electric vehicles. There is no more carbon emission. And if these electric vehicles are recharged using solar energy, then of literally no carbon emission happens in the entire economy. So now, of course, a lot of people are saying that, doing something like like converting an entire economy of nations around the world to green economies, that's a very cost prohibitive proposition. That would be very expensive, and I do understand that. So I would say that if this shift from fossil fuel economy to green energy economy would be gradual. But I do think that I do think that with efforts being exerted by people around the world. In other words, if people decide that, what, I'm not going to use gasoline vehicles, if I'm not going to use diesel vehicles anymore, and I'm just always going to use electric vehicles all the time. If people around the world can make this shift happen, if governments around the world can make this shift happen gradually and shift to alternative sources of energy, renewable sources of energy, for their energy, for their energy diet, then I think it is possible. Yeah, maybe it will take for 40 years or 50 years or 100 years to convert an entire fossil fuel economy to a green economy, and there will be pushback from the fossil fuel industries. I mean, they would be losing a big source of the revenue. I mean, if fossil fuels are not used for energy generation, then what's the point of harvesting crude oil, or harvesting those, you trying to extract oil from these natural gas reserves, from these fossil fuel reserves. What's the point of that? So I guess there would be some pushback, but I do think that a shift to a green economy is pretty possible and pretty viable in a longer period of time. If you thought my video was not that informative, I would not blame you for that. But yeah, uh, if you liked my video, consider hitting the like button, or maybe not. Uh, Consider sharing my video if you want to, or maybe not, and consider subscribing to my channel if you want to, or maybe not. Goodbye. Stay safe. God bless you, and we'll see you in the next video.